Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome back to Tennis Time. So Wimbledon is very much on the way. The women's final just finished, and we are going to have the men's final just tomorrow. It's probably going to be one of the most high stakes Wimbledon finals in recent times, and I'm going to talk to you about that final. I'm going to preview it. I'm going to tell you why I think this final is so incredibly special. Then, of course, there are many historical implications regarding Djokovic's performance. I'm going to talk about that as well. And while I'm doing the preview, I'm going to look at the route of both players. How has Djokovic gotten to the final? How has Berrettini gotten to the final? And I'm going to assess who I think has the better chance. Look at the head-to-head history. So, to start off, I think this was one of the most exciting Wimbledons I've seen in recent years. Not that the last ones were not interesting or not entertaining, but somehow the fact that we had Wimbledon cancelled last year and this year we had the chance to see it again, to watch it again, was extra special, at least for me. We had one great absentee from the tournament, Nadal, chose not to participate because of scheduling. So the gap of just 2 weeks between the French Open and Wimbledon was just not enough. But he will be back at the City Open in Washington just when the Olympics are going to be finished. So I think we will see plenty of him during the hardcourt season. Another good news to me, what I really liked, next to the fact that Roger Federer was back and he was playing Wimbledon, was that also Andy Murray was back and he was playing Wimbledon. Both Murray and Federer were trying to come back this year. They had a few attempts to play in a few tournaments, but that didn't really work, and it was quite visible that their comebacks are not that easy. Federer's played a tournament in Dubai where he's played 2 matches, won the first round, lost the second. Then had a long break, played the tournament just ahead of the US Open, lost in the first round, the French Open. So ahead of the French Open in Geneva, lost in the first round, and played the French Open, won 3 matches, but after the third one, he was so exhausted that he had to pull out the French. Played in Halle, won the first round, lost in the second, so you really didn't know what to expect of Roger Federer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. And the fact that Andy Murray was back was something I really enjoyed and really liked. He played 3 matches at this year's championship, and especially the first 2 were a joy to watch, and I'm so happy Andy Murray is also back on the court. So let's kick off with Federer. So as I said, he did not have one of the most successful comebacks, and if you just look back at the tournament and you say, or you see he's reached the quarterfinal, you would say that is a good result. I think it is a good result up until the quarterfinal, but on that day he did not perform too well. It looked like he could not recover in time, even if he had just a straight set match against Sonego in the 4th round. He somehow didn't have the time to recover, and he didn't have the energy to be the Roger Federer we've seen in the 3rd or the 4th round. That's a shame. People are talking about possible retirement. I think it's really up to Roger. If he feels that all the effort he's put into the comeback, if he wants to go on with it, I think he will go on with it. And I'm sure even if he's going to be 40 next year, I can imagine having him a better Wimbledon next year than this year. About Andy Murray, he's not 40, he's just 34, just in quotation marks, but it's quite visible in his route and in his performance that the physicality was not really there. So he had a 4-setter first round. He was 5-love up in the 3rd set when he was playing Basilashvili in the first round, and he lost the set from 5-love up, and he lost it 7-5. He gathered himself, came back in the 4th and won the 4th against Oscar Otte, the German player, in the 2nd round. He was 2-1 down, came back, won in 5 against Shapovalov. Then he didn't really have enough in the tank. And it was a little bit disappointing to see him after that defeat in the press conference. It was kind of sad to see, but I think if he sticks to it, he's just 34. He's at the same age as Djokovic, so I think he still come back as a stronger player. If we look now towards the significance, the historical significance of this Wimbledon, so we have Novak Djokovic at this point, who has won 19 Grand Slams throughout his career. Only Nadal and Federer have one more, both are at 20. So Djokovic is now playing his 30th final at a slam. It is his 7th Wimbledon final. And if he wins tomorrow against Berrettini, this will be his 20th triumph and his 6th Wimbledon title if he wins. So that's absolutely massive. There was nobody since 1969 in the men's game to win Australian, French and Wimbledon in the same year. And if you're a die-hard tennis fan, then you know that in 1969 Rod Laver has won the calendar Grand Slam. He's won the Aussie Open, French Open, Wimbledon and US Open. So Djokovic is definitely trying to emulate that. If he does it at this year's Wimbledon, then he has a very good chance to win at the US Open as well. And not just would he surpass Federer and Nadal and win his 21st Grand Slam title, he would also win the calendar Grand Slam, which, as I said, has not been done since 1969. So that's absolutely impressive. This is since the Open era started, and since Rod Laver has won his Grand Slam, this will be the most incredible feat a tennis player has achieved, if he does it. So there's a lot of stake for him. If you would ask me if he can do it, I would say yes, because he seems to be feeling quite comfortable in most of the pressure situations. He still has the physicality to go long if he has to in a match. He's proven that at the French Open against Nadal and Tsitsipas and Sonego and everybody he's played. He's been cruising since the first round here at Wimbledon. He's just lost one single set, so I think he wants to preserve his energy and he wants to be fit for the US Open to win the calendar Grand Slam. And if he does that and he is going to win his 21st, then, as I said, I think this is going to be the most impressive performance by a tennis player in recent decades since Laver. And I'm not saying that lightly. Anything Nadal and Federer have done in tennis is incredible. It's magnificent. So has Djokovic. But if he would do this, then the calendar Grand Slam is so incredibly rare. So in the men's game, it's been done 3 times, and 3 of those times have been done by Laver. In 1962 as an amateur, and in 69 as a pro. The one who's done it before him was Donald Budge, and that was in the 30s. I think it was in 1934. But since then, since 1969, that's over 50 years ago, 52 years ago, nobody's done it. So I think you can understand and you can imagine why I'm saying the stakes are really so high and why this would be so incredibly impressive. And not just that he has the chance to win the calendar Grand Slam. This year we have the Olympics because, as everybody knows, last year was postponed. The Olympics was postponed and it's going to be played this year. And if Djokovic would win the Olympics as well, which he's never done, but he's saying that this is one of the most important goals and titles he wants to reach and he wants to win, then he would have basically the Golden Slam, and this is even more impressive. Throughout the history of all tennis, this has been done only once by Steffi Graf in 1988, where she's won all 4 major titles, Aussie, French, Wimbledon and US Open, and has won the Olympic gold medal in Seoul in South Korea. So Djokovic has a similar chance this year. That's why I'm saying this is so big. And if he wins Wimbledon, then this is definitely going to be the US Open with the highest stakes in recent times. We had in 2015 Serena Williams winning the Australian, French Wimbledon, and she was going for the calendar Grand Slam. And it very much looked like she would get to the final. She was playing Roberta Vinci in the semis. She was one set to love up, and then somehow nerves got to her as well. So even the big Serena Williams, the great Serena Williams, could not complete that in 2015. The question is, if Djokovic does really win tomorrow, then what's going to happen at the US Open? But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I wanted to show you this slide that I've created just to have a look at a few stats. If we talk about the historical significance of these titles, Grand Slam titles. So if we look at Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, I've outlined here every time they've reached the Grand Slam final. So as you can see, Federer's done it 31 times, so he's played a Grand Slam final 31 times. Nadal 28 times. This is Djokovic's 30th time he plays a final. Both Nadal and Federer have 20 wins, so the best final win percentage has Nadal as of these guys, because he's played, in quotation marks, just 28 finals. You can see that Nadal has an absolute dominance at the French. At all the other slams, interestingly, he's played every time 5 finals. So at the Aussie, Wimbledon, and US Open, Nadal has 5 finals. Federer has 7 each at the hardcourt slams. He has 5 at the French and 12 at Wimbledon, so that's his record. Nadal, with the 13 times he's played the French final, he's won it. With Djokovic, it's pretty even. So he's played 9 times the final of the Aussie Open. That's his personal best. 8 times at the US Open. So clearly hardcourt is king for him. At the French, he's played 6 finals, and at Wimbledon, this is his 7th. So it's going to be an interesting one. If he wins, then it's going to be his 6th Wimbledon title. That will be absolutely special. He will be just 1 short of Sampras and 2 short of Federer of catching them. And he would surpass Björn Borg. He would have more Wimbledon titles if he wins tomorrow than Björn Borg. Borg had 5. Okay, so let's go over and have a look how Djokovic has made it to the final. So in his first round, he's played the British wildcard Jack Draper. Draper's done well in the preparation tournaments on grass out of Wimbledon. He had a very good first set, took the first set off of Djokovic, but after that Djokovic really picked up his game and dropped only 5 more games. So he pretty much made short work of Jack Draper after that first set. Second round, I think this was maybe the most impressive tennis Djokovic has shown throughout these championships. He's really dominated Kevin Anderson, the 2018 finalist, who Djokovic has beaten in the 2018 Wimbledon final. Just 1 hour and 41 minutes, 6-3 and 6-3. This was his quickest match of the tournament. Very impressive. So Kudla was the next opponent, 2 hours 17 minutes. Kudla was actually having chances to win that third set. He was ahead with a break, he was ahead in the tie break, but then in the end Djokovic just pulled it out, and that was another straight sets victory for him. So after that, fourth round, he was playing Cristian Garin, more of a clay court player who's more comfortable on clay. It was a straightforward win, also a relatively quick one, 1 hour 49 minutes, 2-4 and 2. So quarterfinals was interesting. He was playing a very fit player, Fucsovics Marton, the Hungarian guy. Really very, very fit, but Djokovic was even fitter. The sets were tight, especially the second and the third, but in the end you didn't really have the impression that Djokovic was going to lose those. Semi-final was a little bit closer than the quarterfinal when he was playing Shapovalov. So it was just 3 sets, but it was 2 hours and 44 minutes. First set was tight. Shapovalov was serving for the first set at 5-4. He dropped his serve, and somehow Djokovic was the more dominant player in the tiebreak. Neither of them really played a good tiebreak, but Djokovic was the more solid one. And second and third set, pretty similar history. Up until 5-all, Shapovalov had quite a lot of chances on Djokovic's serve to break. He didn't manage to convert, and Djokovic, at the right time, when it was really crunch time, he was the clutch player. He was the one who was playing the difficult moments really, really well. He's broken Shapovalov both times in the second and the third, and has taken then the final games at 6-5 to win those sets. So he's come through pretty comfortably in the end of that semi-final. So if we move ahead to Berrettini. Oh yeah, one more thing. Djokovic has spent a total of 12 hours and 48 minutes for these 6 matches. That's really good. It shows that he's dropped only the one set, so he was really dominant throughout, and I think even though he seems to be really fit, he's played a lot of tennis lately, he had a very tough French Open physically, so I think this is a good preparation for him to be in the final, and having spent not even 13 hours on court for these 6 matches. So Berrettini had also a fairly dominant route to the final. He's lost throughout the tournament only 3 sets. He's dropped his first set against Bella in the first round, but was really dominant in the third and fourth set, 6-4 and 6-love. So it was a convincing start. Then against the Dutch guy, 2 hours and 15 minutes, so 1 minute even quicker than his previous match. Straight sets, very dominant. Also in the third round, he's won that under 2 hours, 1 hour and 42, 4-4 and 4 against Arias Bedede, the Slovenian player. In the fourth round, Ilya Ivashka, big server, but Berrettini was returning well, serving well, so Ivashka had no chance. I think the most difficult match Berrettini had was in the quarterfinals against Felix Auger-Aliassime. It was 1-all after the first 2 sets, and Felix Auger-Aliassime seemed to be the better player in the third, but Berrettini somehow managed to get through, and then he dominated the 4th set pretty much. And against Hubert Hurkacz, that was a very interesting match. Hurkacz was the one who's beaten Federer in the quarters. Federer was not really at his best. He didn't seem to be moving well. He didn't seem to have the strength or the power to hit through Hurkacz, and he was missing too much. So it looked like a very promising match, and you could have thought, okay, this is going to be really competitive. It could go to 5 sets. Well, in the 5th game, in the 6th game, when Berrettini was serving 2-3 down in that first set, Hurkacz had a break point, and Berrettini managed to fend that off. There were many uses in that game, and in the end, somehow Berrettini managed to hold. So it was 3-all. And in game 7, when Hurkacz was serving, there was a very tricky point in the very, very first point in that game, where Berrettini has been defending so well. Hurkacz was having a routine smash he had to put away. He's hit just the ball just too softly toward Berrettini's forehand, and Berrettini has hit past him. I think that was the moment where things started to shift for Berrettini, and he's broken Hurkacz in that game. He went 4-3 up, he served to 5-3, he held 5-3, Hurkacz was serving, he dropped his serve again, and after that he dropped 6 more games, and after that Berrettini was starting set 3, so in total Hurkacz dropped 11 games in a row. And I think it was a good effort from the Polish player to come back and to get back into that third set, get to a tiebreak, and he played a really solid tiebreak, which he's taken 7 points to 3. Berrettini took a bathroom break, and when he came out for the fourth set, he's broken straight away, and he had that break toward the end, and he served it out at 5-4. So that's the route of the two players. If we look at the head-to-head, we see that these guys have played just twice before. Djokovic leads 2-love. The first meeting was at the end of the World Tour Finals, indoors in London, in the group stages, and that was a dominant match for Djokovic. Berrettini wasn't playing particularly well. And the most recent one was at the French Open in the quarters, where that was a tricky match for Djokovic. So it was a close first set, but Djokovic was again the more dominant player in key moments. And the way he's taken that first set, somehow that took the second set with it automatically. In the third set, Berrettini recovered. He managed to get to a tiebreak. He won that tiebreak. Also, he made maybe Djokovic a little bit nervous. Djokovic dropped a few points, which he shouldn't have. He missed a few points, which he normally doesn't, and that's how Berrettini came back. The fourth set was also very close. Maybe Berrettini was a little bit disadvantaged by the fact that at that time at the French Open, when they were playing the quarters, they had to leave the court for about 10 minutes because the curfew time arrived and everybody had to leave the stadium. So at that point, Djokovic was more in command somehow when the match resumed and restarted. So these two matches were played under very different circumstances. One was in the hard, the other one was on clay. This match on grass is going to be different, so I'm not really putting too much thoughts into this head-to-head. I think Djokovic is definitely the favorite for this final to win, but I would not discount Berrettini. Why I'm saying that I'm not discounting him. If we look at Wimbledon, it's not like the hardcourt slams. It's not like the French. Because at the French and at the Aussie and US Open, you have a larger variety of players where you can say, or you can think, okay, these guys can win it. There are more guys who could win it, in theory. We've seen Tsitsipas do well at the French. We've seen Medvedev do well at the US Open, at the Australian Open. They've been in the finals of these big events. But at Wimbledon, it's a little bit different. So we don't see a Tsitsipas do well at Wimbledon. It's hard to say we don't see Medvedev do well, but he reached the fourth round, but then he lost to Hurkacz. So I wouldn't say he's doing particularly well at slams. For Shapovalov reaching the semis for the first time, that was a big thing. And you can imagine the way you look at Shapovalov and you see how his game is, that he could do well on grass, except maybe the use of his backhand and the choice of shot on the backhand. But other than that, he has a solid game on grass. But you don't really see players outside of Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal win the Grand Slams. At least you didn't up until last year. The fact that Federer had that long break, he's on the comeback trail, you wouldn't have picked him as a favorite. But if you would pick anybody from this new generation who could be a threat at Wimbledon, then that has to be Matteo Berrettini. He clearly feels really well on grass. He's won Stuttgart in 2019. He has played Federer in the fourth round at Wimbledon in 2019. He's lost severely to him, but he has made it to the fourth round. That was a good time for him, a good test for him. Last year we didn't have any grass court matches, and this year he comes and wins in Queens, and now he's in the final of Wimbledon. So he definitely has the kind of game which can be and is effective on grass. The fact that he seems to be so hungry and he wants these matches and these titles so much adds to his chances. When I think of Tsitsipas, the way he was behaving on the on-court interview after his beaten Zverev at the French Open semi, he gave me the impression that it was so unbelievable for him that he's in the French final. He wasn't really even considering if he could win it or not. With Berrettini, it was a little bit different in my view. So he was overwhelmed and he was saying how incredible it is, but he also said that he thinks or he hopes that in 2 days' time it will be even better. So that tells me that he's thinking of the final and he wants to win it. Tsitsipas wasn't that convincing, to me at least. So things Berrettini has to do well in order to have a chance against Djokovic. He has to serve really well. I think his service percentage needs to be at least above 65%, which is very, very hard to do, but I think he can do it. His serve +1 needs to be spot on. He will definitely look to hit his forehand after the Djokovic return, finish points quickly and be in command on his service games. He wants to put Djokovic under pressure. He wants to put as many returns into play as possible. He will have to play on his backhand side better than he normally does. He has to be above his average game on the backhand, driving through the backhand, hitting the slice. It has to be spot on. And he has to move well. Berrettini, for his size, has moved well throughout Wimbledon. The question is, can he move even a little bit better, and will that be enough against Djokovic? Because Djokovic, what his strengths are, he's a great mover. He's probably the best mover right now on grass. He's improved his serve. He is the best returner in the game, and he likes these pressure moments. Maybe liking is not the right word, but maybe it is. I'm saying he likes it because he seems to be handling them so well all the time. If you look at the match against Kudla, where it was a little bit tight in the third set, or at moments where it was maybe tight against Fucsovics or against Shapovalov, he handles those situations so well. He's not dropping sets at Wimbledon. So that's why I'm saying I think he likes these pressure situations, and he will back himself all day, every day, and he is convinced that he can win the big points. So if something extraordinary doesn't happen, Djokovic is going to win the Wimbledon final on this Sunday. If Berrettini plays lights out tennis, he serves 80% first serves in. Djokovic cannot return Berrettini's serve as he would like to. Berrettini can attack with his forehand, and he can put Djokovic under pressure, and again, so much pressure that Djokovic feels so uncomfortable, and he doesn't feel after set 1, after set 2 that he can recover. Then Berrettini has a chance. If he cannot do all these things, then, as I said, Djokovic is going to win the Wimbledon final on this 11th of July Sunday. Okay, let me know what you think. Please leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video and you like this content, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.